Hello, I'm Judah Vaughn. Welcome to the May episode of Hempfield Happenings. We'll be looking at what's happening with Hempfield and looking at how media is going digital, this year's dance theater production, and our school's Black Knight Award. That and even more on this month's episode of Hempfield Happenings. The dance theater production at Hempfield High School are a unique part of the school's culture and always create a great sense of community. Thomas Williams looked into how this all comes together.
Here at Hempfield High School, performing arts is a huge part of the school's culture, especially its yearly dance theater production.
Great question. So last year's dance theater production was Rain, and we were looking at it because it was a nice reintroduction for dance theater since we haven't had a show in a few years. So it was a nice rebirth, brand new beginning, Rain, clean slate. Time Warp, we wanted to kind of just do something out of our comfort zone, and time is such a vast concept that we can really play around with it. So the first act is going to be really fun, time travel section, and then the second act has a whole bunch of different time paradoxes and things that we go into. And
I think it's great because it's non-dancers and dancers coming together to create this production. The rehearsals, you get to know everybody, and it's just a lot of fun. I don't know, dance is a great community glue.
So the thing about dancing together is that a lot of students who don't have any dancing experience, we're all kind of coming from the same place where we're kind of just doing it because it's fun, and because of that, a lot of students there's kind of connection there between all the students.
Oh yeah, I think dance theater really forms a really strong bond between the dancers and really forms a sense of community. I am an alumni of Hempfield, so I did dance theater, and some of my very best friends are to this day I met through dance theater. So I think it really just forms long-lasting friendships, long-lasting bonds and relationships, and you're working together to put on a big show. You have a common goal, so everything is just kind of there for you, from that teamwork aspect all the way through to friendships and having fun and goofing off with your friends.
And with dance theater, it is able to bring the students of Hempfield High School together and form a great community through the beautiful art form of dance. This is Thomas Williams from Hempfield Happenings.
Hempfield staff members put in a huge daily effort for our students. Joey Sturgill reports on how Hempfield recognizes these exceptional faculty members.
In late March, district representatives searched the hallways of Hempfield High School to give out Hempfield's Black Knight Awards to faculty members who go above and beyond every day. One of these faculty members who won the award was Dr. Huff, an 11th grade English teacher.
Dr. Huff is, in my opinion, the epitome of what the award was actually created for. To watch not just the amount of energy that she pours into the class and curriculum, but she genuinely goes out of her way to make the environment of what she's teaching more than the academic piece.
He could use the rugby team to unite his nation.
I'm always trying to do things that make kids want to be here. I try to incorporate some activities, some lessons, some games, to to make the content fun, to make it engaging, to try to make connections to the real world so that they don't see this as completely irrelevant.
She's been amazing to work with. She's given me so many ideas and tips on like what to do. Like I've learned already just like she's so organized. And so I've learned already like, yeah, I need to make sure I'm organized when I'm, planning for lessons. And so she's just absolutely amazing.
It's not just teachers who recognize Dr. Huff's daily effort. Her students also see and appreciate it.
She really knows how to connect with each student's personal interests really well, and she does a good job at having a relationship with all of the students in the classroom.
She's very respectful and understanding, and overall just a great teacher, and I think every student who has her would agree.
She always brings energy to class. She's always making sure she's interactive with us. I don't think I've ever seen her in a bad mood. She's a very, very, really good person, not only a great teacher.
I think you can just tell that she really loves what she's doing, and I think that encourages everyone else to work hard in her class.
The Black Knight Award recognizes the outstanding effort that staff members like Dr. Huff put in every day to make Hempfield great. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Joey
Does anybody
Strickland.
have any questions about this? Everybody good?
Here at Hempfield, there are 5 pathways to graduations that students can go through. And joining me today is Ms. Dicely to talk about those different pathways. Thank you for being here.
Sure, glad to be here.
Yeah, so I first wanted to start off by asking just what are the different pathways and what are the kind of defining features of each one?
So the pathways to graduation were established by the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and this is the first year that they go into effect with this year's graduating class. The simplest pathway, Pathway 1, is just for students to score proficient or advanced on the 3 Keystone exams. That's the easiest way to get through the pathways to graduation. The second pathway is a pathway that involves a composite score of the 3 Keystone exams. So it's possible for a student to get a basic and then 2 proficients or advanced, and when those scores add up to meet a minimum score, that would also be acceptable for a pathway to graduation. Those 2 are based simply on Keystone scores. As we move into the other pathways, they start to become a little bit more cumbersome in trying to designate what requirements are necessary in each one. All students, no matter what, are still required to take the Keystone exam. That doesn't go away with the Pathways to Education because we're still responsible for reporting for federal purposes. But as we move into the other pathways, Pathway 3 is the CTE concentrator pathway. That pathway is for students who are attending CTC, and they must demonstrate likelihood of being successful in their careers through the testing that happens at CTC or through industry certifications. Pathway 4 is the alternate assessment pathway. That pathway allows students to create or to score a certain minimum score on the SAT or an AP test or the PSAT or the ASVAB for military admissions that would allow students to then meet their requirements. Pathway 5 is the most complicated. That's the evidence-based pathway, and that requires criteria in 2 different tiers, and this would be areas such as industry credentials or acceptance to a 2-year college or acceptance to or proof of a job beyond graduation or something else that would show post-secondary readiness.
And then my next question was, what would you recommend to students who are looking to explore the different options?
So first of all, we still want students to be successful on the Keystones, so we want all students to do their best on the Keystones and enable them to graduate with Pathway 1 or 2. But if that's not working for a student, then they really should be working with their guidance counselors on how to establish the correct criteria for Pathways 3, 4, or 5.
Why do you think it's important for students to look at the other options?
Not everyone tests well, and so we want to make sure that even though they might be able to demonstrate their career readiness in a way other than just the Keystone tests. They also are important, for instance, for a student who was sick and missed an exam and didn't have a chance to make it up, for students who move from other states to Pennsylvania and don't have Keystone exams because they moved here as a junior or a senior, and then they would be able to demonstrate proficiency, for instance, with an SAT score. So those options tend to be necessary for students with unusual circumstances.
So What is Hempfield looking to do differently with these pathways in the coming years?
First and foremost, we're trying to make sure that everyone's aware of them, since this is a Pennsylvania state requirement, and we want to make sure that students understand the importance of the Keystones and taking the Keystone seriously. So we're communicating with every mailing related to the Keystone exams. The pathways go home. It's part of freshman orientation now. It's in the course guide. So we're just doing our best to communicate. But we're also looking at where are places within our curriculum that we could prepare students for if they would end up in that pathway 5 that requires industry certifications. Are there different credentials that we could build specifically into our courses? For instance, next year we're looking at some in technology education that would give some certifications through our electronics or materials and processes class. We've been exploring some in the BCIT department for perhaps Microsoft Office certification, or in FCS for safe food certification. So while we don't have all of those in place yet, we're looking for different ways that we can embed those right in our courses to make it easier for students to meet that 5th pathway if necessary.
Okay, thank you for joining me. So now on to our next feature for this month's episode of Hempfield Happenings.
Hempfield takes pride in its music program throughout the entire district, and this year, Hempfield had the honor to host the PMEA Region 5 Band here in our very own auditorium.
So Region Band is the middle part of a long band, honor band process. And the students audition, and those that are selected make district band. Then when they go to district band, they re-audition for Region Band and also perform a district band concert. And then this past weekend, we hosted Region Band, where the students actually re-auditioned for All-State Band and performed in the Region Band concert.
These auditions are very important to the students. Marissa Dagan, a Region Band member from Hempfield, describes her experience.
A lot of practice. Almost every single day I was practicing, and then also taking lessons helped a lot.
Students stayed from Thursday to Saturday, practicing nearly all day together.
It can definitely feel really long. I think it was like 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. with breaks in between, but it can be a lot, especially just playing for that amount of time. You can get really tired, but it definitely paid off in the end. We sounded really good.
In order to prepare for so many students, it took a lot of planning and setting up. This event wouldn't be possible without the help of student, teacher, and parent volunteers. But setting up didn't just start a few days before the festival.
So Pennsylvania has been hosting Region Band for a long time. So we actually have a playbook. It's like literally a written out manual about how to do it. And it lists 6 months before the event, make sure you have these things done. 5 months before the event, make sure you have these things done. And so we basically just used that and divided up who was doing what so that we could make sure we had everything covered.
Yeah, we had a bunch of awesome student and parent volunteers, so it went super well.
After months of work to prepare, it's finally time to start creating music. Although the festival was held at Hempfield High School, Mr. Saracini had the help of a few other schools to host this big event.
Region Band is a lot of work, even though when it goes smoothly, it seems very easy. So we actually co-hosted between us, Central York, and Eastern York. And we split up the work just to make it a little more manageable. So Mr. Martini hired the conductor and put together all the folders of music. Mr. Gramis handled the hotel and made the program and did all the printing. And I handled all the facility reservations and all the food for the kids and organized the transportation to and from the hotel.
So they've been wonderful co-hosts, and if we could give them another round of applause, they did a ton of work.
But out of all the schools, why is Hempfield the one to host?
Our region is made up of 15 counties, about 130 different schools, private schools and public schools. Only about half of them will actually have a student selected, so we have about 60 for this. But it's a very large band, 127 kids. So the facility has to be big enough that can hold a group like that, and most schools can't. Hempfield is lucky that we have a beautiful performing arts center, so we can host an event like that.
I actually liked that it was here because I knew where everything was and I felt way less nervous because I was familiar with the school.
To wrap up 3 days of hard work, the Region Band performed a concert of 8 pieces to showcase their talent to the public. The crowd of parents was quite big. Family members across 15 different counties came to watch what these talented musicians have rehearsed for over 17 hours.
I would definitely host Region Band again, but not for like 5 more years. It is a lot of work at once, and I'm excited for the rest. It was a really cool experience. The students were great. The music was exceptional.
It took a lot of dedication and planning to host such a special event. And thanks to everyone who helped, the 2023 Region 5 Band Festival was a great opportunity for everyone involved. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Charlotte Robards.
Hempfield High School's student newspaper has recently been digitally archived. Sullivan Fogel looked into the impact that the digital format has had on the newspaper medium.
Newspapers have been an effective and accessible way for people to tell and hear stories on varying degrees for centuries. But as time moves on, the medium has seen some changes and challenges. Recently, Hempfield High School digitized the entire backlog of The Flash, the school's student newspaper, going all the way back to 1933. Hempfield students and staff, however, have shown that they rarely read this or any other newspaper.
Not really anymore.
Not at all.
No. No.
Still, newspapers persist. The Hempfield area is one of many homes to the community paper known as The Merchandiser.
This is a printing and publishing company. It's Engel Printing and Publishing Company. So I work on the publishing end, and there's a whole press room out there that is doing all kinds of commercial jobs. And I can tell you from experience, I get one of every job we print just to look at. And I want to tell you something, print is strong.
Also popular in Hempfield is the Lancaster County newspaper, otherwise called LNP.
We have a highly devoted reader base. I've worked for outlets in Scranton and Harrisburg, both of which had 5 to 7 county regions. We have almost 150 people dedicated to one county. And I think that's what's been able to keep our print product stronger. We're one of the highest circulation print products in Pennsylvania. We compete with Allentown, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh as far as circulation size.
LNP is also known as Lancaster Online, with an emphasis on their digital news stories.
We have more circulation on print. Digital is smaller, but every print reader can also access the digital. So we have up to 54,000 people right now out of a county of 500,000 who can access the digital product. Anybody who just gets their news from Facebook or Google or the app or push alerts is going to go with digital. What we're trying to do with maintaining the digital footprint or the print footprint, grow the digital, is to poke those and see where people engage and read the metrics and find out how they're engaging with us.
The difference between physical and digital newspapers can be divisive, often generationally, with the Hempfield students and staff having their own preferences.
Digital.
Digital.
Physical. Digital's annoying.
Digital.
Despite the growth of digital footprints on both larger scales and smaller scales, some still argue that newspapers should and will remain physical.
I do not see print going away. People always said print is dead, but it truly is not.
There's people who really like to hold and read the newspaper, and those people are going to go there.
There's less distraction when you're reading a newspaper that you have right in front of you rather than a news story that you're reading online. There's a lot of ads that pop up. Print is the most trusted medium for news. And the reason that is because it doesn't go away. You can't go online and just amend that. You can't, it's out there.
The prominent presence of digital media is still causing the newspaper industry to make changes.
More and more small newspapers, local community papers like your Hempfield Merchandiser, are going away because it's very difficult. There's so much competition with digital. I think they both have their place, but I think there's increasing concern about digital.
I always have fears of what happens to the platform we're hosting on. What if something changes? What if Facebook disappears? The idea that you keep your photos in a cloud, what happens?
I believe we'll pivot. We have actually made some changes. It's good to have the mix. You don't want to just be pigeonholed into one thing. We want to get as many eyes on our newspapers as possible. So if there is a segment of people that would prefer digital, we have that available.
The future may be digital, and so is the past. Hempfield High School's digitization of their school newspaper, going back almost as far as a century, serves as a reminder of the linkage between the past and the future, while also proving that journalism on every level will prevail. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Sullivan Fogel.
Society has gone through a lot of challenges during COVID. Thomas Williams investigates the changes that have been made to Hempfield High School's library.
Since 2020, there have been a lot of huge changes to how Hempfield High School operates. And one of its hugest changes now is how it is readjusting to post-COVID. And we'll see how that post-COVID society has affected the library.
There was a lot of restrictions that were really hard to come by, like the masks and like the social distancing and stuff, but other than that, it was hard, but we pulled through.
Oh, definitely affected it a bit though. Like coming up here, you got to use the websites to find books and stuff, you know, and yeah, just social distancing and stuff. Finding the books is pretty hard, but you know, we have a good staff over here.
Well, when COVID started and we went home in March of 2020, we had a hard time getting back some of the books that were, you know, scattered throughout the district. And so if you'll remember, there was a lot of dropping off materials and picking up materials from the school to ensure that we could go home and do online study. So that was kind of the start of our changes in COVID and our books at the library. But moving forward, when we came back to school the next year, we had to put some things in place that would protect students and their health. So we couldn't wipe the books down because that would ruin the book covers and the integrity of the actual book itself. So we did a lot of research, and we realized that if we put the books in what we called a quarantine for a few days, anywhere from 3 to 5 days, that wouldn't be long enough for any germs to live on the books. So as of last school year, we were able to shorten the window that the books were left in quarantine. Some buildings, like the middle schools, use special infrared lights to quarantine and clean the books so that they could get out into the shelves faster. And then at the beginning of this school year, we were able to drop all those procedures together. Ebooks were amazing. When we went home in March of 2021 and throughout the whole next year, depending on if students were in school or they were still studying at home, what our ebooks did was provide an entire library collection to our students, and they could access them no matter if they were in the building or out. I was so thankful that we had things in place like Sora, which is our online collection of books, and we can easily add and take books out of Sora seamlessly. That was definitely huge for access for students, ensuring that they had access to good materials free of cost, whether it was for personal reading or to support their curricular needs.
Even though the library at Hempfield High School has gone through many changes in 2020, 2021, and 2022, it is still the same library as it's always been. This is Thomas Williams from Hempfield Happenings.
Now it's time for Hempfield Highlights. Minithon this year made over $13,000, and Sam Field was crowned Mr. Hempfield this year at Minithon. As mentioned in Joey Striggle's feature, Hempfield gives out the Black Knight Award, and along with Dr. Huff, many other faculty members of the Hempfield School District were nominated for this award. Congratulations to all winners. Boys soccer won LL League Section 1 championship, and boys cross country also won LL League Section 1 championship. McKenna from Studio 7 reports on the girls lacrosse team.
Here at the Quad, the girls lacrosse team has been working very hard for their upcoming season. The team has practices after school to prepare for their upcoming games throughout the season.
Every day. Every day.
Do you know every day.
Every day after school till 5:30.
3:20
to 5:30. Yeah.
The coaches and players are very excited for the season ahead.
Really excited. We have new players. We lost 9 starting seniors last year, so really excited about the potential we have.
Make sure to come out and support this year's team at their games. If you are interested in joining the lacrosse team, contact one of the coaches. For Studio 7, I'm McKenna Straley.
That's all for this episode of Hempfield Happenings. Thank you for watching, and tune in next month where we continue to celebrate our 25th anniversary with some old friends. From all of us here at Hempfield Happenings, have a great May.